right, welcome. Thank you for coming today. I'm Mark Cotter. I'm with the Office of Public Works, and today we're going to talk about traffic. There's no stranger to this intersection. A lot of traffic. It's one of the heartbeats of Sioux Falls. Really, the future of traffic signal control is adaptive systems. Instead of having these pre-timed progressions that go through various times of the day, the goal is to really start to implement more and more of these smart adaptive controllers. They're in these corridors that we'll talk about. They range anywhere from about 35 to 45,000 per intersection. That's why we don't do them at every intersection throughout the course of the city. But to really harness the latest technology so we can move traffic more safely, more efficiently, the adaptive systems have really proven to do that across the country. Adaptive systems use very good video detection systems, so they are constantly detecting and counting cars, and then ultimately can constantly in real time change the green time so you can maximize how the lanes are utilized. If you're on some of these corridors, you might be on a side street and that has a signal. And in some cases, in the old ways of moving traffic, you might be sitting there for up to 120 seconds. If an adaptive system can see about a 10-second gap, it can quickly see you, count you, real time, change that phase, allow you to go, and then go back to the main line. And so that's really essentially what they do, is they are constantly, with high-tech detection, they're detecting and counting vehicles so they can maximize the number of vehicles they move through an intersection. The brains behind this for Public Works is Heath Hofteaser. He's our principal traffic engineer. He's going to talk to you about our next two corridors that we're employing this new technology to, that we're really excited for. So Heath, come on up.
Hi everybody, Heath Hofteaser, Principal Traffic Engineer for the City of Sioux Falls. I'm here to talk to you about our adaptive traffic systems in the City of Sioux Falls and the next locations where we're going to be installing them. The first system that we put in was back in 2014 on East 26th Street. We installed it on 10 intersections between Cliff Avenue and Veterans Parkway. And we've had that system in place for about a little over 3 years now. And from that system, we found great results with an 8% reduction in travel times on East 26th Street, 21% reduction in crashes, and a 24% reduction in stops on the East 26th Street corridor. So we're really looking forward to seeing if we can take that the same benefits we saw on the East 26th Street corridor and applying them to our next two corridors, which are Minnesota Avenue and 41st Street. The Minnesota Avenue corridor, we're looking at doing 8 intersections going from 18th Street down through the south ramp of the I-229 interchange. And then on 41st Street, we're doing 13 intersections ranging from Marion Road all the way east to Norton Avenue. And actually, the corridors will somewhat connect with 41st Street and Minnesota Avenue. We'll have the ability to shift around how the corridor works and how it's progressing through the corridor, where we can have the flows concentrating north-south on Minnesota, or possibly bending around 41st and Minnesota Avenue, depending on what traffic patterns are doing for any particular day of the week or time of day and what we see going on the corridors. I want to talk to you a little bit about what will be happening this week out here on Minnesota Avenue. On Minnesota Avenue this week, we're going to be turning on the adaptive system. We'll be working on the intersections from 18th Street through I-229, where we'll be removing the current progression patterns that are in those intersections. We have to take the intersections, we have to change the timings around, we have to free them up and get them ready for the adaptive corridor. And we'll start implementing the adaptive corridor timings and plans and the equipment, turning that on the various intersections. And then we're looking at probably sometime during Wednesday afternoon, we'll have the Minnesota Avenue corridor fully functional with the adaptive system running. And then at that time, we'll be working with Rhythm Engineering, who's the supplier of the equipment. We'll be working with them on making adjustments and tweaking the system, trying to get the best flows that we can on Minnesota Avenue. And like on 26th Street, that's a process that will be ongoing for a number of weeks and months, where we'll just constantly keep working on the system to try to improve it and make it better. I want to talk a little bit about what the public should be looking out for on Minnesota Avenue. If you'll notice, we've got a couple message boards on Minnesota Avenue right now that letting people know that to pay attention and the signal patterns are changing. And this is kind of the same message we put out on East 26th Street when we put that adaptive system in place, where the one thing with the adaptive system is it can make quick changes to try to adapt quickly to traffic, and it might add a left turn phase during a time period when you don't necessarily normally see one at an intersection. So we ask the public traveling on Minnesota Avenue just to pay attention to the traffic signals and make sure that what's it showing to you, because it's not necessarily going to be what you've been used to in the past. Mark talked a little bit about how the system worked. It's got the video detection that detects traffic, and then one of the big things, it's looking at all the traffic. It's got it's kind of the algorithms that are used. It's counting up how many cars there are on each approach, and it's also keeping track of how long the vehicles are waiting on the different approaches. So the processor is working as hard as it can to try to minimize the delay to all drivers on the corridor. That's it tries to minimize delay, and then it also has a function in it where it has what's called tunnels, which is kind of a progression corridor through Minnesota Avenue, where it's a guaranteed green time from intersection to intersection, where it's trying to put it together to try to flow platoons of vehicles through the whole corridor as much as it can without stopping traffic. Like I said, on East 26th Street, we found with that technology, the stops reduced 24%. So we look forward to what it can do on Minnesota Avenue and just how much it can possibly improve our traffic flow. What we have in place on Minnesota Avenue, we've been working on this throughout the entire city with our IT department, where we're connecting the different buildings throughout the city together. We're also connecting the traffic signals throughout the city together. And we've got about 2/3 of our traffic signal network on fiber throughout the city now. And so Minnesota Avenue and then 41st Street and our East 26th Street corridor, the intersections are all connected by fiber. And so they're communicating almost instantly between each other, where you have 18th Street that's sending vehicles down. It's letting the intersection of 22nd Street know that there's vehicles coming. And then if one of them sees a big increase in traffic and it needs to increase how long its cycle is temporarily to get the traffic through, it's letting the other intersections know that too, so that they're working in sync with each other. That's the name of the product too, in sync. So